On this episode of the CBD University podcast, part 2 of our conversation with our GWCBD team as we introduce the newest division of Global Widget. Meet our team as we go deeper into the conversation on vertical integration and how our white label and bulk ingredients division could be the perfect fit for your CBD brands. This is the CBD University podcast, and it starts right now. I'm Joe Agostinelli, the host of the CBD University podcast. If you are a returning listener, I welcome you back to our podcast. If you are a new listener, we are glad you found us on your podcast platform of choice. We also welcome the viewers on our YouTube channels, all of our brands. You can find full video episodes of each of our podcasts. So if you listen to the podcast and you want to go back and watch any past episodes, you can do so right on YouTube. And we will, of course, remind you at the end of the show to subscribe to our podcast, either on any of our YouTube channels or on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get notifications when new episodes are published each week. If you were with us back on episode 32, we launched our new division, GWCBD, at the end of July. Just a refresher, GWCBD is our new white label and raw ingredients division of Global Widget, our vertical integration and in-house manufacturing, distribution, and marketing team, along with our 110,000 square feet of facilities in Tampa, Florida, do indeed make our team the perfect fit for your CBD brand. Two members of our GWCBD team and brand new to the Global Widget family and making their podcast debuts, Rahmberg and Mac Norton. First, most importantly, welcome to the team, and second, welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
First off, easiest question we're going to cover. A little bit about each of you, your background, and what brought you over here to GWCBD.
GWCBD specifically, or the CBD industry?
Either or.
Okay. Well, the CBD industry, I'll back up just a bit. The reason I got into the industry, we were talking about it a little bit before we started the podcast, but I started in the brewing industry, in sales, moved on to management, and then I saw a big opportunity in CBD. The way I found CBD was my aunt used to have ankle problems, and all the pharmaceutical drugs in the world couldn't seem to help her get out of her chair. She could, but she had a really hard time doing it, and it was hard to watch her kind of lose her mobility. So before I really even knew what CBD was, she started taking it. My dad told me she was taking it, and a few weeks later she was up and moving around almost like normal, like it had never happened. And so I started looking into CBD, found out how new and upcoming it was, saw the potential in the industry, and I was really interested in kind of getting in, not necessarily at the ground level, but early on in the stages of that industry, and thought that I could be impactful. So the beer industry had kind of gotten stale. The craft beer industry is still booming, but it's kind of plateaued in a way. The margins aren't as good. It's not as feel good of a sale. I can put it that way. So I moved into the CBD industry. I found a company in Colorado that seemed to have some really good things going for it, and got a job with them. I packed my stuff up, and 2 weeks later I was in Boulder, Colorado, and working in the CBD industry, and I've been in love with it ever since. It's a world of endless possibilities. So GWCBD specifically interested me because we'd been in the ingredient side. We'd done that. And the ingredient side was great, but if you follow CBD at all, you know that it's become slightly or significantly commoditized as far as price points go. So it gets tough each month to have to sell twice the volume to make the same amount of revenue. The manufacturing side was what really interested me, and after coming here and seeing the true vertical integration, I'll let Matt go into that in a little bit because he explains it well, but after coming here and touring the facility and the campus and seeing the true vertical integration, the manufacturing going on, it was an easy sell to move over here. So the manufacturing side at GWCBD was really, really alluring to me. So,
And what brought you over here to GWCBD?
Yeah, so I have a background in sales as well. Shortly after college, I got involved with Xerox. I'm a very sales-heavy family, so I was raised around that, and it was really exciting for me to see my parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles involved in that. So I got involved in Xerox, and shortly after that, I had a friend who helped start the bulk ingredient extraction company that Clay and I worked for. And much like Clay, I was interested in the space. It was new, it was exciting, and so did the same thing. Packed my stuff up and got to Boulder, Colorado. We had an amazing experience there for a year and a half, worked very high-level bulk ingredient sales, kind of a premier organization. And Clay explained it well. What happened was that the industry changed and it pivoted. And GWCBD, what brought me here was that you had Chad Levitt, our VP, in the previous podcast. Chad, that was his account, Global Widget, and Global Widget used to buy a ton of bulk ingredients from us. This is a big company. And so he would come out and we sold this to Global Widget, we sold that to Global Widget, and it seemed like it was on a weekly basis almost because the need was that high. So it was interesting to kind of see that develop, and we started to get involved. Chad came over, and then Clay and I came and met the team and realized really quickly that this was an organization that we wanted to be involved with, and it snowballed from there. Now we're here.
And getting a little harder now, what excites you the most? And you talked a little bit about the CBD industry. What excites you the most about the status of the industry and the potential here at GWCBD?
Yeah. So for me, it's interesting. People define the CBD industry as the wild, wild west, and those of us that are in the industry, some of them see it as a negative connotation, but I think it's a really good analogy because it kind of alludes to the fact that there's a lot left to discover and a lot left to win. There's no regulation in this space, and we all know that, so we have to take it upon ourselves as manufacturers, as anyone that's working in the space, to set very specific quality parameters and make sure we're doing the best that we can. But there's a lot to put your name on and tons to innovate. So to be able to have the opportunity as a business development manager to strike up long-lasting partnerships with brands that we know, household name brands and new CBD only brands that will be successful in the future, to be able to innovate and design and be successful, that's what's most exciting about the industry for me.
Mac touched on it a little bit, but going back, I was always interested in kind of like, I call it big business. I've always kind of wanted to be that businessman. I saw my dad do it. It wasn't necessarily in sales like Mac's family was, but he's always involved in business, and it always interested me to be involved in something like that. And we've talked about it before, Joe, but you're not going to go to Coca-Cola and sell them a new recipe for Coca-Cola, right? They've got that down. It's set in stone. But one thing that we can do is work with companies like Coca-Cola, household names, and they're not in CBD yet, but I guarantee you they've done their due diligence. They want to be involved in the industry. They see the market share that they can come in and grab just by having that name and being with a company and being able to get on board with some of these bigger companies and help lay that framework for them and bring a CBD product to market is extremely exciting. And there's not a lot of companies in this space that can do it as well and efficiently as Global Widget can, GWCBD. So that was something that's very exciting to me. And within our first 45 days, we've had traction with some significantly sized companies on the CBD side, and they're all ready for it. As soon as this regulation gets in place, a bunch of these guys are going to be pulling the trigger, and we're going to be there to help them out when they do. So,
and Mac, this next question for you, because he already teed it up for you, but you talked about the vertical integration.
Yeah.
The ability to be that one-stop shop for a brand, whether it's edibles, such as gummies, tinctures, even pet products. What about that vertical integration that interests you so much?
Yeah, so it's a term that gets thrown around, vertical integration, all sorts of industries. And companies are really passionate about it. CBD specifically, it gets thrown around a lot, but the definitions are very subjective. If you look inside of an organization, you'll start to see ways in which they aren't vertically integrated. The thing that is most fascinating about CBD is that consumers view it as a health and wellness product. So they pay some very specific amounts of attention to how the product is made, where it's sourced from, what's in it, because they care. They don't think about boxes of cereal like that. If you walk down the aisle, you don't see the back of a box of cereal and think about if that company physically manufactured it and if they took the time to source the materials, and you don't put those components together that way. But for CBD, it's very different. So what we accomplish through a true vertical integration, and what we really mean by that, the definition is that we go and we physically source the raw biomass, the hemp. We extract that biomass on site. We have 3 campuses here, or a campus of 3 buildings. We extract the raw material, and then we manufacture with those ingredients into finished product, and then we fulfill directly to our customers, and then we provide them with data and assistance throughout that entire process to make sure that they get good sell-through. What that accomplishes is that what the consumer needs to pay attention to is how many hands their product is touching. If you've got a product, a tincture, an edible product, a soft gel, most of the companies in existence right now, that is not their specific manufactured product. It's probably 3 or 4 organizations deep in terms of who sourced it, who made the bulk ingredients, and who actually manufactured the product. We do all of those things. So we shorten the chain of custody, as people like to call it in this industry. All of the people in this organization are sourcing things. We all think the same way. So everything's manufactured under one roof, or 3 in this instance, by the same organization. And it's really important because everyone thinks the same way. We're dedicated in the same way, and we have the same quality parameters. So what you're going to get is assistance throughout the entire process and one group throughout the entire process. And it's crucially important for small companies, medium-sized companies, and the big companies want to see that. So,
And with that, I welcome our new host to the seat. No, I'm just kidding. Very well said. Very well said.
Yeah.
Although we've certainly mentioned this on previous episodes of our podcast, it's important to note that, and you talked a little bit about this, Clay, everything GWCBD does is right here in-house, as you mentioned.
Yep. And I've seen it, and one of the slogans here is "Seeing is believing," and it's that is important. I mean, the fact that we knew who Global Widget was, like Max said, we used to work with them with a former company, and they were a partner of ours, and it was like, who is buying all this isolate, and how can anybody use that much isolate? Because typically what would happen back in the day, and even now, is people would buy significant amounts of this isolate, they would resell part of it, and they'd use a small amount of it for manufacturing. Global Widget was actually using all of the isolate they were purchasing from us in a manufacturing way. We came down here to tour the facility, and being able to go through the campuses, like Max said, to walk through manufacturing and see 40 to 50 people in here making product, boxing product, shipping product. Everybody's gowned up, following CGMP procedures. It was amazing to see. Then we go to the distribution warehouse, and there's people pick and packing all of the online orders. I think they're doing some 2,000 orders a day over there. And being able to see hundreds of bins of products and the efficiency of people picking and packing these online orders. Products that I've never seen before: pink lemonade suckers, beard balm, tattoo ointment. I mean, things that I've never seen before. We're willing to try these things, and the seeing is believing really struck me when I got here. Going to the extraction lab and seeing these massive C1D1 containers that contains all of the extraction process, it really was amazing. So I've seen the seeing is believing on the wall here, but it truly does take coming down here or getting on a FaceTime tour with us to see the facility, watch the gummy machine running. This is a little off topic, but I mean the responsiveness of this company. We've got one gummy machine up and running at 24/5 right now, and we're barely able to keep up with demand. So we have another gummy machine on the way, and then another one being manufactured that'll be here before end of year, which puts us at 1 million gummies a day. It's just amazing that we're not willing to outsource any of this to anybody else. We do want to control the entire supply chain. We do want to control the chain of custody from the ingredient all the way to the finished product. And that was very apparent to me from day one, and just the passion behind everybody here. I mean, people have been here for 5 years, some of them, and they have just as much passion, I imagine, today as they did on day one. And so being able to come in and get the support from every department in this organization was amazing, and that support is passed on to any partner, any client that we work with. So you really do get a full team of people helping you here, which is nice.
And in addition to everything being in-house, talk about the specificity of products that are manufactured and distributed out of our 110,000 square foot facilities, and how over time, if a brand wanted to add products or make a different variation of an edible, topical, or pet product, the ability is there to do it.
Yeah, so we've actually manufactured over our existence as a company around 300 different CBD SKUs. Clay mentioned beard balm, tattoo cream, just to name a few of the products. If you go to visit 40 different CBD websites, you're going to see a combination of probably 3 different products. You're going to see some type of tincture oil, some type of edible product, whether that be a gummy or soft gel or a capsule, and some type of topical product. And the reason that those exist is because they sell really well. We were introduced to CBD via those products. They formulate well, and the consumer recognizes those. So when you talk about specificity, we've got this whole catalog of products that we've manufactured that we can basically do tweaks to, right, and make minor adjustments to. What I like most is taking something that's a familiar product and making a small adjustment to it. So for instance, you might see a regular tincture with CBD isolate and grapeseed and MCT and a natural flavoring. We can add B12 or vitamin C. Because obviously the immunity aspect of that is really popular now, and so we can take a topical product and make it broad spectrum or full spectrum. So I like most making small tweaks to familiar products, because what we can guarantee relatively to that customer is that, look, these are popular products. The consumer recognizes these as popular products. We'll make a minor adjustment to make it your own, to let you get to your customer base in a certain way, or own this formula, or attack that niche that you've been trying to get after in a certain office or space. So that's what's most exciting for me is making those small adjustments.
And I'll let both of you answer this one. So let's say I'm Joe A. CBD, and I decide to partner with you guys for the development of products under my brand name. The process doesn't stop once the products are developed, correct?
No, not at all. I mean, that's just where it starts. So once we decide to take on a project, what we're going to do is find out exactly what that customer, the verticals that they're trying to target. From there, we'll decide on products, and then what we do is we decide, when do you need the product? What's the ship date? And there's a really cool internal tracking system here that we use, and so we'll choose that ship date. So Joe, you want your product by Labor Day? Great. We're doing B12 tinctures and some turmeric gummies for you. What we'll do is we'll put that end date into this internal tracking system, project management system, and what that does is kicks off the project. It notifies every department within the organization, and there are crucial steps that need to be done to make sure that we hit that target ship date. If something's lagging and somebody in a department hasn't got something done, it'll ping them and let them know, hey, this project is subject to being delayed because you have not taken care of this responsibility. And then what we can do is each week we can send you, Joe, snapshots of that project management software, and we'll show you whether we're on target or whether we're off target and why. And it'll either be on us or Joe, we're waiting on you to send us artwork. So the sooner you send us artwork, we can get back on track. And then from there, if we do get delayed, we can find areas to compress timelines to make sure that we're delivering your project on time. Beyond just the project management tool to show you visibility of the project, we offer sell-through data that we've been compiling and Global Widget's been compiling for the last 4 to 5 years through some of the brands they sell into C-stores. And we can show you what the number one selling topical is, where it's what state it's the number one seller, and we can keep you up to date, and we do. We have an in-house compliance officer who keeps track of all the state regulations, and that's critical because this stuff changes so quick. Like Max said, it's kind of the wild, wild west, and it's common to where they'll change a regulation and they won't tell you about it, and you gotta dig to find it. So what she does, Margaret, she's been featured on countless podcasts in the past, but what she does is she keeps up to date real-time regulation updates, and so we'll make our partners aware of these. Hey, we need to make a label change on your next order. Hey, you can't be selling this in that state anymore. So we really do offer a lot of support, from the sell-through data to what's selling and where, and then also making sure that your brand is protected with our in-house compliance officer. So there's a lot that we offer on the back end to make sure that your brand, Joe, is successful. So.
Anything to add to that, or did he answer that?
No, he did a great job.
Mac always has something.
Yeah, I got something to say. What it does is, I think Clay explained it really well. It establishes partnerships. Because when we don't want a transactional person that we're going to see once or twice. We can manufacture a product and that's 6 months worth of shelf life for you. That's amazing. Run with it for 6 months. I hope it only takes you 2 months to sell, and then let's start having a conversation about what kind of products you want to add, or if you want us to do another run. But when you are able to use the vertical integration and use the tools that Clay explained to build relationships and keep those relationships, it's crucial in this space. Longevity is crucial in this space, and when you as a company can go and you can have a very open conversation about where you're at in terms of success, in terms of revenue on a monthly basis, and how you can transfer that into real-time results for a customer, it's key, it's crucial. So Clay explained it really well. What it does is it allows us to access high-level accounts and people that are interested in the space, and they know that we have our ducks in a row. So we build partnerships that last with that.
And on that note, I want to thank both my guests, Clay Rahmberg, Mac Norton, for appearing here on the CBD University podcast. Lots of great information, guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
And for more information on anything that we discussed here about GWCBD, I invite you to visit our brand new website at www.gwcbd.com. And be sure to follow GWCBD on LinkedIn and Instagram and across our social media networks. I also want to remind you, if you have not yet done so, to subscribe to our CBD University podcast on your podcast platform of choice or on any of our branded YouTube channels, where you can see full video episodes. You'll get notifications when new episodes are published each week if you subscribe, and we thank you always for being a part of the audience of the CBD University podcast. I'm Joe Augustinelli, the host of the CBD University podcast. Thanks for tuning in. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. CBD products are not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. Always consult your personal physician about CBD and using CBD products. CBD should never be used by anyone under the age of 18. This podcast is not intended to provide legal advice regarding the legal status of CBD and CBD products.